What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to the head coach of Mercenary Combat Academy. He is the one, the only Tony Solis. Tony, what's up, my man?
How's it going? Just got done with practice. Not early, but we've been dealing with the Corona thing, so we got off a little early today.
Yeah, so I mean, what's the deal up there? Because I'm here in kind of like your home region of like LA. So what have been the precautions that you guys have had to take during this whole COVID situation?
Well, we've been shut down since March, so the gym hasn't been open. We haven't been open to new members. I did allow the fighters to come in and do like training with myself, or like Kelly go in there and work pads and stuff like that. But we've been shut down for 6 months. We just recently opened to the public on Monday, and we got a lot of new members that are coming in, so it's good.
Well, congratulations, because I mean, we're still kind of trying to figure it out down here in SoCal. It doesn't look like, unless you're one of the big name promotions. I mean, since COVID, there's only been like 3 boxing events, and that being like Top Rank, Golden Boy, and PBC, respectively. But they've got the money that they could rent out an empty arena and then stream it on TV. But I mean, the regional shows have suffered as to it. The gyms and training centers, like especially with like if you're a straight out like jujitsu school, like a Gracie Baja or a 10th Planet, or and just build your gym not so much on the striking disciplines but grappling. I mean, there's no way that you could socially distance grappling. It's not something you can do on the back.
Nope. And that's what we're doing right now. We have an MMA program, jiu-jitsu program, but we're not doing that at all. All we're doing is teaching Muay Thai and kickboxing. So just to play it safe for a little bit at least.
No, and that's the thing. It's like, that's part of your responsibility as a coach and, a fighter yourself. You don't want anybody to kind of, get something, or even just like an injury in the gym, like rolling hard or being reckless, with the combos or your training partners and what have you, that could lead an injury, and that injury or like that diminished physical state of a member or a teammate could have like like reaching reverberations, negative ones across the gym.
Yep, it does. That's what we're trying to avoid, getting anybody sick or anybody hurt. So we're playing it safe for now, at least. We'll get back to normal in a couple months.
Absolutely, man. We're all kind of waiting for it, but then we're also trying to figure out like who's doing what and whatever around the country, or around the world rather, and trying to figure it out. Obviously the least populous places are getting affected at a lower rate, versus like the big metropolitan areas. So we're all just trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah, we will eventually. We can't stay like this forever, so I'm sure we'll figure it out.
No, 100%. But I mean, let's dial it back a little bit, because obviously, you reside in the Pacific Northwest now, but I mean, you're originally a SoCal guy, right? So how did your, kind of your interest in combat sports, and I know you wrestled for Santa Ana High, but like, how did your kind of encompassing of mixed martial arts start?
Well, when I was wrestling back in high school, on my off time, and my wrestling coach probably doesn't want to hear this, but I used to do boxing lessons, here and there. So I was boxing and wrestling at the same time. So I didn't really focus a whole lot on wrestling like as much as I should have. I wish I would have, but I didn't, because I was doing both. And then after wrestling season was over, or after wrestling was done, I started training at what's it called? Zulu Kickboxing and OC Boxing down there in Orange County with Finesse Latoy. And so I've been kickboxing. I did a little bit of kickboxing back then, but mainly focused on wrestling through a little bit through junior high and high school, and then boxing as well. So my background and when I first started was boxing and wrestling. So after I moved, that's where it all stemmed from, high school, I guess.
No, and it's funny because I mean, that wasn't that long ago, right? But now it's vogue. You could train wrestling and jujitsu and boxing and karate and what have you. But I mean, in the as even recently as the early 2000s, that was like taboo. Like what you're doing, it was almost sacrilegious because if you're a boxer, you're a boxer. If you're a wrestler. These are things that have been tried and true since literally like the beginning of man. And you couldn't do the other, and especially if you're doing a grappling kind of discipline and then you do striking, it was sacrilege, not too long ago.
Yeah. And I guess what drew me into the boxing was because Hispanic family, boxing's in our blood. I remember as a kid, my parents always ordering the pay-per-views and watching boxing. So I was always drawn into boxing. And then my neighbor was the one that pushed me into wrestling. And then my high school wrestling coaches kind of pushed me even more after I got into high school.
That's tremendous. And somebody you and I both know, but mainly you, Kelly Skittles Clayton's got the eyeball emoji. And if you guys, all you guys watching, if you comment, we can actually bring it up on screens and answer in live time. So I'm just putting that out there. But yeah, that's kind of cool that, your neighbor essentially got you in because, like, did you know about wrestling before? Or,
I knew about WWE. I knew WWE, WWF. We used to do that in the backyard, but I grew up in a pretty low poverty neighborhood back in Santa Ana, so wrestling was a good way to stay out of gangs and drugs and stuff like that. So, it was either that or get picked on by the little thugs around there. So I never had issues with them because of wrestling. My confidence was wrestling and boxing. They knew that, so they respected it, I guess.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. And also tremendous when Dakota Rhodes saying, hey, what's up? Shout out to Dakota. But it's funny because a lot of people, especially if you're a kid of the 80s and 90s, right? When, your coach or neighbor or whoever says, oh, there's wrestling in the gym, like we could trade, whatever. And dudes are like, Macho Man Randy Savage, I'm gonna jump off the bleachers, elbow drop, that's it, and then they figure out like, oh wait, it's totally different. We're not leaving the mat, and now I gotta figure it out.
Yep. The singlets was hard for me when I first joined, having to wear a singlet for a tournament and stuff like that. That was hard. That was the hard part.
Oh, in many ways, the singlet is kind of an oblong kind of piece of material and everything that, it can shape, and it gets really weird really quickly, but you kind of soldier on, and especially when you've got like, nothing, like most kids, right? Like, especially males, full of bullshit and bravado, you're not turning, once you get turned loose, that's it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And Matt Howard says, heck yeah, Tony, inspiration, keep making a difference for the game. Shout out to Matt. And somebody again, Coco, Anthony Hamlin, shout out to Anthony. He's like, I'm hungry. I don't care. What's for dinner? Probably like, what is it? Collecting necks and cashing checks, and you probably eat T-bone steaks. That's what I'm getting, right?
There you go. Kelly just brought in the food right now, so.
And then shout out to one of the premier matchmakers in all of SoCal, Harvey Cass, saying good stuff. I have it on my TV right now. So,
awesome. Thank you.
I kind of told my parents that I would be on TV in one form or fashion. So thank you, Harvey, for making that happen. Got a face for radio. So, hopefully it doesn't scare you. If you get 4K on all in this mug, it's not fun. It's almost like a Rick Steiner turns into a dog-faced gremlin. But Tony over here, he's modeling for GQ.
There you go. With the ears and the broken nose.
Hell yes, dude. Have you gotten the fact that you almost look like Joe Daddy Stevenson? Has anybody told you that?
No. Kelly just met Joe Daddy.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't know who he was. It was a little embarrassing.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell her to watch Kingdom. Holy hell! Have you
You
watched
did
it?
watch Kingdom.
Oh, it's good. I'm nearing the end because it's only 3 seasons. But I mean, and especially like being a part of like SoCal kind of combat sports, you're like, those are my friends, and you'll see like Mike Beltran, and like they actually use everybody from like the California State Athletic Commission or Camo, and the fighters like Jens Pulver's there. There's
I saw that.
Andre Feely. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, we finished. We actually finished the season or the full series already, so we're ahead of you.
So you already know. You
Yeah,
already
we
know.
know.
Yeah, Kingdom season 4, dude. Like everyone, just like hit up Netflix, and I know everybody's trying to cancel it and whatever, but I mean, Kingdom is the show, you know.
It's a
Um,
good show.
and Anthony Hamlin says in this garage with 12 wrestlers working their butts off right now. So I mean, he's Ninja Panda right there. you go by many names as Sexy
I do.
Bastard. See? Um, yeah, and you seen Joe on Friday, and he was about 50 pounds heavier. Yeah, absolutely, because he had a guy on that LFA card.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, absolutely. So Joe's a heavyweight now. Definitely Big Daddy now. Oh, the jokes. Oh, the jokes. And you look like Sammy Sosa. And Jose Martinez was right. That's Sammy Sosa before the bleaching cream or whatever the hell happened, because he looks like Michael Jackson or Flex Alexander playing Michael Jackson in that made-for-TV movie. But I digress. But dude, I mean, so wrestling in Santa Ana, right? And then, like, at what point did you figure out, like, hey, let me do this like cage fighting thing? Like, I mean, was that pretty early in your career, or post high school, or how did that come about?
No, actually, I wanted to do jiu-jitsu because I saw something about Gracie's a long time ago. I think it was like the early UFCs, but I didn't really have interest in MMA till I moved to Washington. And when I first moved up here, I actually started another gym before Mercenary Combat Academy. It was called BASFA, Born Again Christian Soldier Academy, and it was for kids that were getting bullied, and pretty much I was teaching them how to wrestle and box and stuff like that. And then it kind of transitioned into an MMA gym. I started reading books and watching videos and stuff like that. And after a while, I was like, I actually want to compete in MMA. And that's when I officially joined Northwest Elite with Anthony Hamlet back when I was 20 years old. So I didn't have any interest in MMA till about when I was 20, about 2 years after high school.
Wow. And then, I mean, obviously, I mean, the transition from, Orange County area to Pacific Northwest, it was definitely a change of place. But I mean, was that something that you adapted, quickly to?
Fairly quickly. I got into a lot of groups. When I first moved up here, I was like really into the church, and for a while, and then after that, I was really into the car racing scene, and so I met a lot of people from different kind of groups. But it wasn't too bad. I didn't mind leaving Southern California and coming up here. It was a better place, so a lot nicer than the ghetto in Santa Ana, I guess.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I like the Bad Religion song. I mean, right now, Los Angeles is burning, like literally and figuratively. It's weird. It's so weird. So you might have made the good move.
I believe so. I think so.
Yeah. And Jeff Olby says, when are we going to see SA fight again?
Silent Assassin.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
2021. 2021.
Reporting the woods. So 2021 is when you're kind of angling for a fight.
Hopefully, yeah. I want to get a few more in, before I call it good. Yeah. We don't want to get into that topic.
No, that's fine. But I mean, they should definitely check out the Mercenary Combat Academy social media pages as well as yours to kind of keep up with what you're doing. And we'll get into that later, but definitely I followed. Everyone else here should as well. Um, and Joe, when he was 16, fought his teammate Steve Horton. So there's a little bit of MMA trivia there, Anthony. And yeah, and Jeff is working on it right now, and we have a UFC vet in mind for a possible fight. Again, we're not going to tell nobody.
I don't care.
We're ready to release it, you know. And Steve Tatum, my high school friend, is California's too hot for everyone. It seems like it. My goodness, yeah. But I mean, getting into that obviously you were, you know, a wrestler and you box, you know, pretty considerably, you know, as you know, in your formative kind of adolescence and what have you, right? But when that gym made a transition to an MMA gym, like, was it something that you were already kind of going to? Because obviously you saw the Gracies in the first kind of iterations of UFC, and it had already been there. But like, at what point did you go, yeah, I'm doing this?
When I was gonna do it, or when we were gonna transition to that gym, that initial gym, it was two different times. When I first, what was it? I was playing jiu-jitsu. I ended up buying a book at Barnes and Noble, and I, you know, kind of studied it a little bit. So we would just go in that gym to the gym and practice it here and there. But when I do something, I want to do it to the best that I can. And after about a year, you know, me and the other person that was running the gym didn't see eye to eye, and that's when I realized, you know, I want to do this. I want to actually compete, you know, and if I'm going to compete, I can't stay with these people here. We're these people that weren't going to push me or make me any better. So probably what was it? That was a long time ago. Probably 11 years, 12 years ago.
Wow. Now, I mean, obviously with this kind of formative skills, because I mean, there are people that, you know, walk into MMA gyms and not really know what to expect or have no, you know, ground-based and skill set, right? But you had some grappling, you know, a lot of grappling, and you had, you know, striking as well. So when you got in and you're actually doing like jiu-jitsu and submission grappling and what have you, was there a particular aspect of the game that you took to, you know, like a fish out of water to more so than the other, or did you adapt to everything pretty quickly?
That's kind of a blur. I do remember my first day at Northwest Elite was a sparring day. So I walked into sparring, and I stuck around and sparred. And back then there was a lot of beasts there. I mean, you had a lot of good, you know, kickboxers, Muay Thai fighters, and, you know, wrestlers. That had a really good, solid team. So first day I went to train, I got my ass whooped by everybody. I think probably jiu-jitsu, you know, kind of played into my game quite a bit. Believe it or not, I don't know why. Like as an amateur, I managed to win most of my fights by submission. It was like 16, no, like 13 or 15 wins by submission. Like most of them within the first or second round. Arm bars or leg locks. Those are my go-to moves. So.
Woo! See, I'm a catch wrestling aficionado. So anytime you're like leg locks, I'm like catch wrestling, you know, and you know that's, you know, of course everybody wants to say like, oh, jiu-jitsu or whatever, but like leg locks, I mean, those are savagery. I mean, you know, you've got like literally like a millisecond, you know, between and a degree change of like, oh, I'm okay until like certain death, and you know, all my ligaments are pretty much ripped, you know, from where they were initially.
Yeah, I love leg locks. Like at first, I started off with the arm bars. I think about half my fights I won by arm bar, and then I discovered leg locks, and it was a game changer for me. I love them. I go for leg locks from anywhere. I'm not scared to die for one.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Now, obviously, I mean, you're a coach yourself, right? And you coach a lot of fighters, you know, in their not just amateur and pro careers, and you see a lot of the, you know, the pre-fight jitters, right? So, in terms of your first fight, at what point in your MMA journey did that that come from.
Um, I don't remember experiencing jitters or nervousness. I think that's kind of what made me good or made me as good as I was because I never really was nervous before a fight. Uh, I think the only time I did get a little bit nervous was right before they called my name out to walk out. That little split second when I'm standing there stage and I'm like, what am I doing here and why am I doing it for free? But besides that, I don't really, I have the mentality that I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna beat this guy, and I'm gonna. There's no way they're gonna beat me. They're not gonna beat me standing up. They're not gonna beat me in the ground. I've done everything, and they're not doing it better than me. So it's a mental thing. It took time, but it's a mental game.
And I mean, before you stepped into the cage, you already had competition experience, like, through wrestling. So, I mean, was it kind of old hat to you?
Uh, I got more nervous wrestling than I did fighting. I got really nervous for wrestling matches, maybe because it was in high school and all of my schoolmates were there. But in a fight, I just never experienced any nerves. I mean, that could have helped, definitely helped, but I got a lot more nervous in wrestling than I did in fighting. I don't know why.
No, it makes sense. I mean, there are people that, like, for me, I know when I first started in jujitsu, I was like, where has this been all my life, right? And things that your mom would tell you, like, you can't do, like off of the couch and with your friends and everything, and then now you just get to, like, jujitsu hug, which is essentially strangling each other,
Yeah.
and being good for it, But then there are some people that like striking, Pat Mary is one that, I mean, he went to, he got to the UFC in just his striking alone. And once he got taken down, in more than a couple fights, he was just like, screw this. I've retired from MMA and I'm, I'm going to do kickboxing. And then he ended up, teaching his fiance or coaching his fiance to a UFC championship in her own right in Rose Namajunas. So, sometimes you just take to one and not the other, not to say that your striking is bad or anything like that. It's just like, this just feels a little bit better.
Yeah. I do like jiu-jitsu, but I think I prefer my stand-up. I haven't really displayed my stand-up much in fights just because I've used my wrestling and jiu-jitsu more often, but I prefer stand-up. And honestly, if I had the opportunity, I'd take a Muay Thai fight and kickboxing or Muay Thai fights over MMA. I don't prefer the grappling part. I like to hit people. I like to punch people. I like to kick them.
I mean, ask and you shall receive, because there's a few folks that watch this very podcast that, I mean, there are Muay Thai fights that are happening. It may not be in the state, but I mean, if you need to scratch that itch, it might get scratched, with somebody watching on here. So you just never know. All right. So in terms of your fighting career, obviously, we were kind of talking off air in terms of like stories and, how important these are, especially, if you don't know where you've come and the sport has come, you don't know where you're going. Right. So, do you have any like fun stories, like, whether it be, the lead up to the fight itself, the weight cut, those are usually not fun, but some fun stuff.
Very fun. Well, most of the fun for me was after the fights, and that's probably why I really enjoyed fighting. Because after you win, everybody's kissing your ass and wants to be around the winner. So that's what I really enjoyed about fighting the most. Besides being in the cage, there's not a whole lot of fun to it. Training, I enjoy training. I enjoy the grind. A lot of people say, training is not fun. Well, if it's not fun, you're not going to do it very long. So I enjoy the grind for training. Weight cut, no. Weight cutting sucks. I think I cut about 18 pounds in one day, and that was not fun. Yeah, weight cuts. I do big weight cuts. I get pretty big when I'm not fighting or when I'm not training full time. So I used to fight at 55. I'm about 215. Yeah.
So what was your walking weight?
What was that?
What was your walking weight?
Probably about 190. 190, yeah, I wouldn't say 190. My best would probably be 185 at a good day. 185, 180, but I was always walking around 190, and then I start cutting to 155. I was hoping to make 145 for my pro after I turned pro, but then I got too thick, so there ain't no way I can make 45 anymore. My frame won't allow it. There's no reason. There's no So.
Oh yeah, metabolism is a motherfucker. Anybody
It
that
is.
tells you different, yeah. If you can eat like 2 things of pizza, two whole pizza until you can't, right?
Yeah.
Like until you can't, and then it just like it all goes downhill from here.
It does. We get all these young fighters that are like, oh, I could eat whatever, and I'm not gaining weight. I'm like, just give it a couple years, and they'll get to you. But Dakota, if you're still watching.
They probably are. They probably are. So listen, kids. Take a lesson from Coach Tony over here, because that's a crazy cut. Which, speaking of all things eating, right? Jeff actually he has a question, and he says, "What do fighting pandas like to eat the most?" I don't know if that's a punchline or Tony. Do you know the answer?
Tacos. They call me Panda. I like pandas, so pandas are one of my favorite animals. And so a lot of people call me Panda or Big Panda or whatever, or Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, pandas are awesome, and funny enough, like she just fought this past weekend, but one of my teammates when I first started training jiu-jitsu in Bakersfield was one Julia the Raging Panda Avila, and she literally, I think one of the first or second times we rolled, she literally throws me about 10 feet. Like, she pivots her hips, and I just go flying, and I landed right at the feet of my wife. And my wife was already like, "Why are you doing this?" And I probably at the time outweighed Julia for by 80 pounds, and that's a conservative estimate. And she just kept me flying. It didn't matter.
It's crazy. That's the sweet thing about the sport. A lot of time weight don't matter. I mean, it makes a difference, but you can get away with not being so heavy sometimes.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And Jesse Velasquez, who's a IFS champion out here in SoCal, he says for sure everybody has a preference, even if you started with a particular type of training, and don't have a base, And he also says 190. Woo, buddy, that's but Jeff is saying you're a badass panda, and I couldn't agree with you anymore.
Thank you. Yeah, I get those big weight cuts. That's what makes it hard to fight sometimes, is the weight cut. So I really gotta dial it all down and diet and cut good 12, 15 pounds per fight. So I think that was my biggest downfall, was my weight, not managing my weight properly. So for you fighters not out there looking, manage your weight, keep your weight down, and makes life easier.
It does, it's that adage, especially now. So in COVID times, right? You never have to get ready if you stay ready, and that has kind of remained true here in SoCal, because not just SoCal, like anybody that was waiting for a call from the UFC or Bellator and LFA, right? Everybody that was waiting for a call, didn't matter where you are, you got the call during the last 5 months of kind of COVID era situations, and some people were a little bit more not so prepared, we'll say that,
We got
but
people like that in the gym.
That
Yep. We definitely have people like that in the gym. They're waiting for COVID to be done to get ready. Well, missing out.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Coach Tony gonna be on that ass.
Yeah, exactly. They gotta do things our way, not their way. So that's the beauty about being a coach.
Yes, it is. So again, obviously, active fighter, right? And then, how did your coaching career kind of start?
Well, I've been kind of coaching, it's almost since I was 18. not really full time, but helping kids here or other people with little self defense, little boxing here and there. But about 2018, my coach moved to Texas, so there was a couple of gyms in town, but not the greatest, I guess. So I decided to start my own thing. That's when we started Mercenary Combat Academy, and we were in a basement. Everybody called it the dungeon, of course. And we're down in the basement, and that was a rough place. Only rough fighters came and checked it out, but that was good old days. And that's where we got our name established. Was in a basement. Yeah, we got a couple of guys win titles down there.
Now, where did the name mercenary come from? I mean, obviously, we know what it means to be kind of without a country, without you're the hired hand, right? So,
Yeah.
what was the kind of a start to use that as the not just the name of the gym, but also the name of the team?
Well, I mean, what's mercenaries paid for soldier of fortune, and for the pro fighters, what do? We get paid to go whoop on people. So I figured there's no better name than a mercenary. It is a little intimidating though, so it keeps a lot of people out of the gym because of the name and the atmosphere. So, business wise, probably not the smartest choice. As far as the team, I think it was a great name. I don't really care. I probably shouldn't say this because if people are watching, they're like, "Well, he doesn't care if I show up." I really don't. I don't. Either they come or they don't. Either they come or they don't. We're good. Not the
Yeah,
best
man.
business model.
No, and I mean, especially, the humble beginnings of like, being at a basement and what have you. And then now, obviously, you've got, a brick and mortar location and I mean, a coaching team, you're coaching, a litany of fighters, to, obviously follow their dreams, and take it as far as they can take it. But what was some of the hardest moments of that kind of initial like basement training?
Pulling the trigger every time. It was like, do I really want to do this? Because it was a lot of money to get it started. Um, Pulling the trigger to get down. I mean, at the basement, it wasn't too bad. I mean, we had nice equipment, even though it was a basement. We still had nice equipment and stuff. I like the nicer equipment. So that was hard. And then my crew guy, the Baton Lewis, who I'm under in Muay Thai, came over to do a workshop, and I was a little actually embarrassed to bring him down there. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. We're in a basement, and that pushed me into opening a bigger location or a nicer location. But it was always pulling the trigger, not the uncertainty, not sure if it's going to make it or, if I had to be paying out of pocket and stuff like that. So those were the hard parts.
Now, at what point, obviously, I mean, without great hardship, you don't have like great results, right? So, at what point did you, transfer over from that basement and transition into a brick and mortar location?
About almost a year. Like I said, we were down there from 2018, so it was probably in 2019, a year after. That's when we transitioned into that big other building. And like I said, he came over for a clinic, and then I was a little embarrassed to have him down there. And then I'm like, this is not really what I want. I don't want to be embarrassed about bringing people down here. And so that's when we got our other building. But things changed. No longer the rough dungeon. Where the fighters wanted to go. We got atmosphere changed a little bit. Even though we still have the fighters and stuff like that, it changed a lot.
Yeah, so sometimes with the added space, you kind of miss that camaraderie because everybody's kind of the folks that are there, they're kind of grinding and sweating, and it's kind of a togetherness, right? And then when you get more space, it's just like the natural kind of logistical deal of a bigger space. Everybody kind of floats off into their own deal,
They do. And I don't want to say that the gym got soft because it didn't, but it no longer had that rough feel like it was down there. I mean, it's still, I mean, we're probably the best gym. Well, not probably, but we are the best gym in town to produce fighters. But it wasn't a rough. It was a little more welcoming, I guess, more welcoming to people. Even though people keep saying that I'm mean because I yell at class.
I mean, again, sometimes if to get what you want or out of life, and I mean, not to kind of sugarcoat it, but I mean, sometimes a little bit of grit, a little bit of yelling, can accomplish some great things.
It does. It really does. It's got to know when to yell and when to pull back. Something you could break. A couple people could broke. Can't handle getting yelled at.
Yeah, and again, if you came in on the mats and whatever, and just was like very faint in terms of your voice and everything like that, the mercenary name wouldn't necessarily fit.
No, it wouldn't. And that's kind of I'm a very quiet person, so it really pushed me out of my comfort zone to open a gym. I don't like talking to people, so it was very interesting to open this up and forcing myself to interact with people. So that was interesting.
No, for sure, for sure. Now, I mean, obviously, as a coach, right? I mean, you're essentially the captain of the ship, and guiding, both captain and navigator, right? Of the ship, and you're the steward of people's dreams, right? Whether that be jujitsu, whether it be full on MMA. So, what has been your proudest moment thus far as a coach?
My proudest moment as a coach, there's a few of them. First one was, I don't know if Jeff is still on here, but he called us over to fight at Rain, and that was when we first opened the gym up. I'm sure we were supposed to get beat up down there, but both my guys went out there and beat some solid guys, brought back the Rain title. That was a really accomplishing moment for the gym. Really put our name out there. Overall, I think my biggest accomplishment was when Dakota won her first fight. Yeah, I've coached her for about a year and a half now. And she started at the dungeon at the basement. She started down there. She came to me with no experience, no nothing. So to see her grow and develop to the fighter that she's becoming and go out there, she was sick as a dog that day, and she fought her heart. She showed she had heart, and that was one of the proudest moments as a coach, besides coaching Kelly.
Yeah. No, and Kelly was talking about when on her appearance right here on the According to Woods podcast that Dakota's, I mean, her like prime training partner, and I mean, she's one to watch in terms of what's to come, especially in Muay Thai.
Yeah, I've told this to a lot of people, and it's got to keep an eye on her. She's gonna be a world champion at either. Our goal was it Glory? I heard they're being sold out. They're selling out because I think they're going out of business. So maybe UFC. She'll get up there. It won't take her long. She's a special kid. She's very special. She picks up things real quick. It won't take time for people to realize who she is, especially in MMA. With the Muay Thai background that she has now, it won't take her very long.
100%. And shout out to Dakota. She chimed in earlier. Yeah, and we might actually have you here on According to Woods, and I'll probably slide into those DMs. So, and Jordan Alcala says, show us some combos. Then you got to get out the gym, Jordan. Come on, you know this.
Yeah, that's Kelly's old teammate right there.
Yeah. Shout out to Jordan. Yeah, I mean, where did you guys train at together?
He was Kelly's old teammate from Yakima MMA. So he's came in a couple times to the gym to get a little bit of work in, but he mostly trained with Kelly.
That's tremendous. My goodness, I mean, let's talk about it. LFA 91, right? I mean, that was a really, really cool instance for both you, Kelly, and the Mercenary team, where I mean, you pretty much showed your guys' true spirit. A lot of people pegged Kelly to actually be the underdog because of
Oh,
her record and what have you. But I mean, even Pat Miletich was like, once he saw you in the corner of Kelly, it was like, oh, whoa, this is not
that
going to
was
be an
actually
easy fight.
Anthony Hamlet. That's
Oh, was it?
yeah, that's Anthony Hamlet. He's our other coach at the gym. He does fighters training and stuff like that. So he went. Um, since I had to stay back and run the gym, and I got a full-time job. So a lot of time when we travel, he's the one that he'll travel with the fighters. So that
Oh,
was him.
okay.
Right there. Amazing coach. He's my coach he's been coaching me since I was 20 years old.
Whoa. That's shout out to Anthony. My goodness. But uh, I mean, so you were essentially watching from home. Were
Yes.
there nerves?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I don't corner her. I don't corner Kelly, and I'll help with their stand-up fighting and her Muay Thai. I'll help dial that all in. But as far as her training camp, I know that I'm not going to be able to push as her, fiance. I'm not going to be able to push her the way Hamlet's going to be able to push her. I can push my other fighters because I don't have that connection with them, but not with her. That's why I step out of her camp. What's it called? Her training camps. Like I said, I'll work with her stand up and help a little easier and work on the technique and more technical stuff. But he's the one that really pushes her and travels and corners her for that reason.
I love that synergy because I mean it's rough to see your spouse, your significant other kind of take hits and everything like that, and you would have to fight every kind of inclination just to jump into the cage and rip people's faces off. My goodness, and that was a good one, and Mike Hale says love winning, and these guys are winners. So that's definitely it. And Coach Anthony says, don't ever bet against someone who's willing to work harder than you, and that's it.
Nope.
And he tries to make life miserable at night, which
He
that
does.
that is absolutely true with the dozen or so guys that he's got in his dungeon, so to speak, training as we speak. So there you go.
He does. He's an amazing, great coach. Really good coach. Amazing coach. And we
So I
make
mean,
it.
so watching Kelly's fight, my goodness, like were you kind of like white knuckling it? I mean, biting your. I mean, you obviously you've seen her put in the work in the gym and work with Anthony and what have you. But I mean, there still have to be nerves. I mean, a lot of coaches will say, especially ones that used to fight or still fight, like I'm more nervous about my teammates fighting than I am with my own fight. So, were there nerves?
There was nerves, and it wasn't because I didn't think she could beat her or that she wasn't prepared for it. It's just I can't control the outcome. If I'm in there fighting, I can control what's happening. I can control every move that's going on. But when she's in there, I can't do that. So that's what makes it nervous for me, I guess. Um, but besides that, I mean, I knew she was prepared. It's just if she showed up, and we knew she was going to show up to fight, so we had her ready. We weren't worried about it. We weren't worried at all.
Yeah, and I mean, with that performance, I mean, not to say that um, any of Kelly's fights or any of your other fighters' fights were auspicious because they absolutely were. Because at any time that you step on the mats or in the cage, in the ring, there's a susceptibility that you may not make it out alive. There's that chance, right? But um, a lot of people kind of didn't know the name of Team
No,
Mercenary, and she definitely made people. She put people on notice.
she did. She put this little town we're in and notice her name, coaches. So she went out there and did a good job. It represented everybody. Amazing job. But like you said, I mean, if we're comparing records, hers to Haley, yeah, she has a better record. But look at the people she's fought though: 0-1, 0-2, 2-1, 1-2. Kelly's fought tough fights. Every single fight was tough. So we weren't scared, not at all.
Yeah, and Coach Anthony says, "I will make you better or make you quit." Tony Solis coaches the same way. We don't waste our time with any of our bad teammates.
Nope.
And you are a definitive Article One, Coach Hamlet. I thank you for just being, because I can sense the tone. Uh, he doesn't play around, not at
No,
all.
no. And me being with him, him being my coach for 12 years now, I'm exactly the same way. So I'll push these guys, and if you're in there wasting our time, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt and we'll work with you. But once we realize you're just wasting your time and our time, then we move on to the next person. The people that want it, the people that want it are gonna get good, and then they're gonna make things happen with this team.
No, 100%. And Yvette Marquez says Kelly is amazing, and Coach Anthony, and it's a tough time to get a compliment out of him. You have to earn it, but he says he's
There you
super
go.
proud of Kelly. So
Those are hard
shout
to
out.
come across. Those are hard to come across. So she should.
Yeah,
She's not even watching it, so she missed out.
yeah, and here's the thing. So we've got video recording. Like that's there. That's right there. Like you can't edit that, and I won't. I absolutely won't. So
You
yeah.
take it off,
So
she don't see it.
absolutely. And I mean, Mike Hale saying LFA and Victor are taking notice. Big things ahead. Absolutely. Again, if you're Ed Soares or Shannon Knapp of Invicta, and you're not looking at Kelly Clayton after LFA 91, I don't know what you're doing. I really don't. But yeah, cool things to come. And both girls were great. Women outside the cage, which I love. I love to hear that, because I mean, my favorite part of all the fights, that whether it be commentary, doing interviews for, or just attending as a fan, my favorite part of every fight is like when that final bell rings and everybody's touching gloves, hugging coaches, whatever. There's cross training, the mutual respect. So
Yeah.
it's great to hear that both Haley and Kelly are good.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been messaging each other all week, so maybe they'll become, they'll cross train together sometime. But who knows? She seems like a good, nice person, nice enough. So
Absolutely. If you guys go Midwest, or she comes Pacific Northwest, there's some. I don't know if people still use Rolodexes. I might be aging myself, but I mean,
no,
they'll look.
I don't think they use those anymore.
Shit, damn it. Yes. There you go. I got to dust off the VCR after this. But anyway, anywho, dude. So obviously, working a full time job, you're a coach, right? What are some of the things that kind of get? I mean, obviously, that's a an arduous schedule to keep, right? So, what are some of the things that help you either relax or kind of get you pumped into the next thing that you're about to do, like music, movies, anything?
Well, I mean, the gym is my life. I enjoy being there. So when I'm in there, I enjoy it. Even when I'm not coaching, I'm in there and I'm taking Anthony's classes and I'm working out myself, or just hanging out in there. But if I'm not in there, I'm actually kind of a nerd once in a while. I'll be at home with my bonsais. I got a lot of bonsais to take care of, so that helps me relax a little bit. But I love being at the gym. There's no better place than being there, especially with people that are willing to learn. If someone's willing to learn, I have no problem going there at 6 a.m. in the morning or 5 a.m. whenever they need me to.
I think that's brilliant, and it is a way of life. Once you're kind of inundated in this combat sports community, it doesn't matter like what the logistical thing is. Like once you're in, like the best people reside here. This is a place where, I mean, it doesn't matter, especially right now, we're kind of at a fever pitch in terms of like all types of tension or whatever. You've got people from all races, all backgrounds, all political, all whatever, and none of that stuff matters. Like we're a team. We're gonna figure it out together. We're gonna sweat. We're gonna cry. We're gonna bleed together, and maybe have an adult beverage if you're of age after.
Exactly. And that's what I love about about our team. It's the people that are there training and part of the fight team. They they build bonds. Like the girls, they go to they call themselves the Breakfast Club, and they go out and run with each other, have breakfast and stuff like that. The guys, need to pick it up. They're kind of slacking off, being a little lazy, but the girls are really kicking ass right now.
That's tremendous. And Coach Hamlet goes, the Rolodex is right next to the phone book, and thank you. And right now, my 2020 phone book is pretty much burnt to all hell. I mean, everything's kind of burning right now in Cali, so damn it. I'm surprised the set hasn't kind of gone in flame, just spontaneous combustion. It's weird. It's weird here.
Pretty bad out there.
Yeah, it is. And Misi Chia-son, check it out. Familiar story, absolutely. And obviously Macy, an Invicta veteran, and now in the UFC. So hopefully those are some cool things that will be in Kelly's future soon
Absolutely.
enough.
Hopefully, that's our goal. That's definitely our goal. So, try to get her up there.
No, for sure. And I mean, if anybody it's is to do it, it's you and Coach Hamlet and the rest of the team there at Mercenary Combat Academy. Now, dude, obviously there's been so many people that have been instrumental in both personally and professionally that have gotten you here and gotten you to the dance. So I want you to get some shout outs out of the way and take as long as you like, because obviously you stand on the shoulders of the people that helped raise you. So go for it, my man.
Absolutely. The only shout outs I want to give is to my coaches, my wrestling coach, Scott Glab, my, boxing coach that he got murdered in his gym. It's kind of a sad story. Finesse, Pete Rodriguez, my other boxing coach up here once I moved to Washington. And definitely a big shout out to Anthony. He's definitely played a big role in my life. Like I said, coaching me since I was 20, bringing me up along the way. Not only teaching me how to fight, but also the ways in MMA and things around the scene. What to look for, and so big shout out to them, because if it wasn't for those guys, then I wouldn't be here at all. Mercenary wouldn't be here. So you guys wouldn't probably be seeing Kelly without those guys. If those guys weren't around in my life, we wouldn't be. Nobody would be here. So. I owe a lot to them.
I think it's tremendous. I think it's tremendous. Now, I mean, obviously, we're not going to divulge into where and when, but I mean, you're looking at one more fight, one last round.
A few more.
Yeah, or maybe a few more, right? I mean, one last run, right? It could be a litany of things, So where does that come from? Like, obviously, once a fighter, always a fighter. But what is the motivation? Because you've been successful both in fight and both in business. But I mean, what kind of drives you to have one last run?
Well, I was supposed to have another fight last year, and I got hurt. I hurt my shoulder, so I had to pull out of the fight. But it's just, I guess I want to leave a legacy. And there's a couple guys that were in the UFC, aren't in the UFC anymore. So what better way to test myself? See if I belong with those guys up there or not. If they made it, and that if they lose, then what does that say about me? There's a couple guys out there that in Washington or around the area. They probably know who they are. Besides that, there's a guy I owe a fight to. Since I had to pull out, I owe him a fight. So I'll honor that one before I call anybody out. And Matt Coble, if you're out there watching, I still want to fight you. I still want that fight. I'll take that fight any day, any weight, anywhere.
Woo, buddy. I love it. I love it. Again, once a fighter, always a fighter. It's not something that you can kind of wash away. It happens, you know. And Coach Hamlet says all success is due to the teamwork. Everybody carries their own weight, and none
Absolutely.
more evident than you, good sir, Coach Hamlet. So thank you. Now, for those who haven't already followed what you are doing, what Mercenary Combat Academy is doing, where can they find the best resources, whether it be social media or not?
There's so much social media. Obviously, we got our Facebook page, Mercenary Combat Academy. Same thing with Instagram. Same, just the gym name, Mercenary Combat Academy. If you guys want a little bit more detail on the gym and the coaching staff, a little bit more of our background, you could visit our website, which is tricitiesmma.com. And then it shows a little bio about me, a bio about Anthony, and where we stem from. Besides that, there's Twitter and all that other stuff, but that's not important.
Yeah, no, that's it. They can shoot the tweets in the Twitter machine and all that jazz that all the kids are doing nowadays, you know. And Dakota goes bare knuckle, Matt Cobble.
Bare knuckle?
We shall see.
No, I wouldn't bare knuckle. I'll give him that. If he called me out in bare knuckle, I'd probably. Well, if he called me out in bare knuckle, I'd do it, but I won't do bare knuckle. I value my hands too much.
Yeah, that's rough. It is rough. It is kind of unnerving, but I mean, sometimes you gotta knuckle up and toe the line, as they say. All right.
Yeah.
And Edgar goes, "Fluffy bunny."
old wrestling teammate back in Santa Ana.
Shout out to Edgar. Hell yeah. Now, in your underwear, is Dakota saying?
I'll do it in a Speedo. If he wants to fight, I'll do it in a Speedo. I'll do it like, what's his name? I can't remember. Dennis Hallman.
UFC, right?
Yeah, I'll do it like Dennis Hallman. We'll do it in a Speedo if he wants to fight. He was my pro debut, and he don't want to fight me no more.
That might not take place on pay-per-view. That might be taking place on the OnlyFans, but and it's great seeing a saint doing it, man. So you are the saint, because yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Edgar, for that. But yeah, dude, I appreciate you jumping on, and yeah, this is super fun.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It was different, a little out of my comfort zone, but I made it.
Yeah, we did it, man. This is like a triathlon, And dude, I it's an honor and privilege to have you here. Thank you for your support of what I do here. You and Kelly have been absolutely incredible, And Anthony Hamlet said you gave him a 3, please, and you forgot the soda. So, oh, damn it, it's going down. So,
I mean, the challenge has been set. It's been out there for a while, for about 2 years, 3 years now. He won't do it.
I don't know.
You don't want them hands.
Stranger things have happened. Never say never in combat sports. Just saying. Yeah, dude. But dude, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And like Stephen Tatum says, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share According to Woods. Oh, that's me. Yeah. So share this with like-minded friends, and a subscription. Come on, just hit that notification button. That'd be cool. That'd be super cool.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, it's not hard, right? Yeah. It's not getting punched in the face or anything like that.
Exactly.
But Tony, dude, thank you so much for your time, especially after full day of work, full day of training, and you just kind of coming here to break bread with us over here at According to Woods. We definitely appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's been a while, so appreciate it.
Absolutely. No worries. But for Tony Solis of Mercenary Combat Academy, I'm According to Woods, and we are out. Thank you guys for watching.